payments to the residents. And I know many of you are wondering why so many states issue stimulus checks. A lot of states are sitting under budget surpluses in part due to the influx of crisis relief funds from the federal government. But it's important to know that these state tax rebate checks and state stimulus payments are different from the 3 rounds of stimulus payments they may have received from the government. The federal stimulus program has ended, but if you didn't receive your 3rd stimulus check of $1,400, there's still time for you to file taxes and get those funds into your bank. So not every taxpayer, however, in certain states can get the 2022 tax rebate. If you had a tax liability on some returns, you'll get up to about $250 for a tax rebate if you're single, and up to $500 tax rebates if you're married and filing jointly. The last year of inflation has disproportionately hurt so many low-income families, and now those with the least flexibility in their monthly budgets absorb higher prices. Now, those same families could be hurt by economic policymakers' plan to tackle inflation, though interest rate hikes in potentially longer-lasting ways. Last month, leaders at the Federal Reserve predicted that, given their plans to continue rising rates, unemployment would rise from 3.7% to 4.4% by the end of the year, and this means an additional 1 million people would lose their jobs over the 12-month period. Now, Jerome Powell has also said that, "I wish there was a painless way to do this." Other financial analysts have even projected even higher unemployment as a result. Bank of America predicted unemployment will reach 5.6% by the end of this year, translating to more than 3 million people out of jobs. Now, on top of all this, if rate hikes do push millions of people more out of work, those who would likely bear the biggest brunt of that job loss and take the longest to recover are the same group suffering most from inflation. So, with higher unemployment and recessions, it doesn't affect just those who lose their jobs. This assumption that the federal government will be willing or even able to pay provided target assistance is uncertain. And now the question is whether the Federal Reserve will be able to hit the brakes and to decide whether they've done enough, on whether or not it's too late and that the economy will be hurling downhill toward a recession that the Fed cannot even control.
When I started to deal with junk fees relating to airline costs, ticket fees, baggage and the like, I think even some of the folks working with me thought it's not that big a deal. But, you know, in America, it sounds corny, but fairness is something we kind of expect. Jobs, they're real jobs, man. It means we've created more jobs in 2 years than any presidential term in American history. Not just you created, but you created it. You did it. The unemployment rate of 3.4%, as I said, is a 50-year low. 800,000 manufacturing jobs.
Now there are 6 days, everybody, until recipients receive the first 2 SSI payments, which will arrive in March. And according to the Social Security Administration, the first round of payments will be sent out March 1st and will be worth around $914. And they will also have a second payment of the same amount on March 31st. That's equaling a total of $1,800 for the month of March. So the Social Security Administration normally gives out checks once time. And now, when the first of the month occurs on each of the holidays, while recipients receive 2 checks the month prior. Giving people 2 checks in a month, that means the administration will not send a check the following month, but it ensures the recipients receive 12 paychecks a year. And now, eligible couples will receive a March 1st and March 31st payment. And those who live with and provide necessary care to those on Social Security will also receive 2 payments of $500 each in March. And now, President Biden has said that some Republicans are threatening Social Security's future, a claim the Republicans have denied, though. The argument ignored key facts about Social Security. This includes that the Social Security trust funds can be depleted as early as 2032, unless Congress acts to prevent that. And without action, starting in 2035, Social Security beneficiaries will get smaller monthly checks, about a 23% cut from what they receive now. And almost 67 million Americans will receive a Social Security payment, totaling $1 trillion. Many older Americans rely on their benefits to pay their basic living expenses. People can start receiving Social Security retirement benefits at age 62, but the full retirements kick in when they turn 67. And Social Security is funded through the payroll tax, and that revenue is put into a trust fund to pay for current beneficiaries. The program, which was started in 1935 by FDR, has become increasingly unaffordable, as life expectancy and the number of eligible recipients has risen, and the number of workers who pay into the program has declined. But a 2022 Social Security's report said that the trust fund used to pay retirees would be depleted in 2034. And the Congressional Budget Office director has told reporters that depletion would come even earlier, in 2032. So this report is not an outlier. Since 2012, the Social Security's Program Trustees Board has projected that the fund will be depleted in 2022 and 2035. The main ways to cut Social Security solvent are by increasing revenue or decreasing benefits. Now they're getting ready to pass it, and the lawmakers in the House are ready to move to vote on a stopgap spending bill and to prevent a government shutdown. But states have been actually talking about tax cutting sprees. And now, a proposed Pennsylvania tax break could result in big tax cuts. If the tax breaks happen, this will not be good. It's fueled by surging revenues. States have been slashing taxes for individuals and businesses for the past 3 years. But tax cuts are expected to come to an end in some states in the fiscal year. Some 25 states have cut individual income tax rates since 2021. Yet, don't worry. Taxpayers who have already gotten their 2021 tax return and had a tax liability will do so and receive the checks by the middle of the month of next month, December. And retirees who are claiming Social Security benefits got some good news when the SSA announced that benefits will rise again by 8.7. It's thanks to the Social Security annual cost of living adjustment. The increase will help retirees deal with some of the biggest inflation in more than 40 years, which has significantly increased the cost of living. But the SSA has announced other changes to the Social Security program, including those that are more broadly affecting workers in all age groups. One of those changes has to do with Social Security taxes and is likely to result in these taxes skyrocketing for high-income people. You may have noticed that your paychecks, you need to pay a Social Security tax, which is how the program is funded. The tax rate for Social Security is 6.2%, both for employees and employers. But if you're self-employed, then you end up paying the entire 12% yourself. Each year, the SSA estimates the maximum amount of earnings that workers have to pay, and Social Security taxes on that. The base is derived from a formula each year. Experts have calculated the final wage base for 2023, and it came out to $160,000. That is up from $147,000 this year. It's the largest increase to the wage base in quite some time, which makes sense when you think about inflation being at a 40-year high. And there's also being a significant amount of wage inflation. With the new wage base at $160,000, high-income earners will pay 6.2% Social Security tax on that income. If they are employed, that's 12%. So we know one thing. President Biden can send out more stimulus by the end of the year, so let's see if he actually does it.
Well, thank you. You know, I'm always talking with families in my home state of Washington about what matters to them, and that drives my focus here in this Washington. So what I'm focused on is fighting inflation and bringing down costs. We need to get products people need on our shelves, and we need to build an economy that leads the world in innovation, but that also leads to good-paying jobs for workers right here at home. Well, soon we're going to be voting on this bipartisan bill to make progress on these challenges by tackling the chip shortage, which is constricting supply chains for electronics, it is driving up costs, and it's even threatening our national security. Back in Washington State, we know a thing or two about manufacturing chips. We are one of the top 10